Hello, I am David D. Hilster. I am a critical thinker, dissident scientist, and I'm here to tell you the truth about science, something your university professors won't tell you, the mass media won't tell you, and certainly those science evangelists won't tell you. Well, I'm going to continue my new tradition, if you can say that, of my book corner. I'm calling it my book corner because over here in the corner on my bookshelf, it goes way up there. You notice, hey, I've got this ladder. Yeah, it's a big bookshelf. And on that bookshelf are great books that my dad likes to steal. And one of them today is a brand new book out by one of my favorite authors, and that is Mr. Peter Erickson. He is a mathematician, and this guy blows my mind. He has been writing about numbers and talking to us about numbers and the real number system and infinitesimals and now negative numbers for well over a decade. He has come to the NPA, the Natural Philosophy Alliance, and has been a member of that group for many, many years and has given talk after talk that just blow my mind, including this year in CNPS 217 when we were in Vancouver, and he blew my mind in a period of about 15 minutes, at least 6 times. My mind still is exploding. And luckily, he's put it down in writing, and as you can see here, the nature of negative numbers, second edition, square root of -1 equals, and he talks about it. And to give you an idea of why this is important, why am I even doing this and talking about this? Because the real number system, believe it or not, no, is flawed. Yes, the system of mathematics we use is flawed. Everything is up for grabs when you're a critical thinker, and you should listen to it. Don't just throw it, ah, ha, ha. Look at it. I'm a mathematician. I've got my bachelor's of science in mathematics. I love mathematics and told everybody that mathematics is perfect. That's why I liked it. It isn't. So this is what this book is about. Let me read the back of it. Oh, before though, I want to tell you a little story, and that is my father, who is doing calculations for our particle model, has shifted the sine and cosine above zero. Normally, here is the x-axis, and you have the cosine and the y going positive and negative. He pushes it all up so it never hits negative. Why? Because it's easier. It makes more sense in the physical world. Negative numbers, square roots of -1, all that kind of stuff, maybe not the way to do things. And in fact, this man, Peter Erickson, has an alternative to it. Yes, no, it isn't like weird things that you've never seen before. It's a modification. It is a new number system, which of course is very similar but different. Let's take a look at the back. It'll explain to us here. The nature of negative numbers. There is a famous number that contradicts the real law of signs, signs being positive and negative. The number is the square root of -1, which we know is a very big problem. Some regard this exception to be a member of its own tiny number system, whereas others hold that it is something else that only looks like a number. Its ontological status will be established in the course of this book. More importantly, another number system that has been invented by the author will be presented. What? That's why you want to get this book. It's cool. Based upon a different law of signs, it is fully consistent with square roots of negative numbers. This is the veritable number system. That's in contrast with the real number system. The implications are immense. In fact, after the lecture this year at Vancouver, CMPS Vancouver, beautiful place. Hey, you should come to our conferences. A lot of fun, a lot of beautiful places. He said, Dave, I come here and I give you guys these talks because I hope that you can use what I know and am finding out about mathematics. And we certainly can, because many times, what do we get caught up in? The mathematics, and we forget about in physics, it's the physical world. Let's keep reading. Okay, let's read about Peter Erickson just a little bit. Peter F. Erickson graduated Phi Beta Kappa from Stanford University. In 1975, he wrote an introduction to the tripartite system. It says here, therein a new monetary system was proposed, one designed to obviate the eventual doom of the US dollar. So he has been working on mathematics and the monetary system as well. And if you can go on and on and on, he talks about other books that he's written. And he says, in 2006, the first edition of what is now called The Nature of Infinitesimals was published in 2012. The latest edition came out in 2016. That is another thing, infinitesimals. You got a line, and you can make that line get half of that, and half of that, and half of that. What does that all mean? what does this all mean in physics, and what does this all mean in the real world? Well, I'll tell you, it's really amazing. I'll read a little bit in the back about Thomas Brennan, what he wrote here in the back. Erikson delves into the nature of numbers, what they are, how we have formulated them throughout history, where we've gone wrong, and how we can fix it. This is a book on history. We'll get into that here of the mathematics, especially positive and negative. In this numeric explanation, Erikson exposes inconsistencies in the way that the real number system has been structured. After all, we built this system. It wasn't, physics didn't have this system. We invented it. Starting from the nature of real numbers together with their basic operations, such as subtraction, multiplication, and signed numbers. That's the key. Erikson finds there are flaws in how we view negative numbers. Their roots lie in both our structure of the number line and the notion that the removal of a deficit in equivalent to giving a let me read that again. I'm sorry. Erikson finds that there are flaws in how we view negative numbers. Their roots lie in both our structure of the number line and the notion that the removal of a deficit is equivalent to giving a gift, meaning it's a trick. It shouldn't probably be there. To resolve these issues, the author has presented his own number system, which he terms the veritable number system. The author's ideas and reasoning are compelling. So that is really an amazing little back cover. I really like that back cover. Some of them aren't so great. And he talks about the plans of this book. I'm going to go read through the chapters, what's are in there, because it's got this great little summary, and then I'll of course have a link for this book here. It talks about more importantly, another number system has been invented by the author presented. We talked about that, and in the first chapter, practical people have noticed down through the centuries some questionable consequences of the real number system. A case in point is François-René de Chateaubriand, a famous author during the Napoleonic era. So he talks about the history. In fact, chapter 2 introduces the history of law of signs and shows how the laws of signs employ the real number systems stems from the rules of multiplication used in arithmetic. Remember, these things were sort of built here. So chapter 3 presents the imaginary number system, also known as a complex number system, the standard solution to the problem posed by the square root of -1. Okay, that's chapter 3. Chapter 4 introduces the veritable number system, where the square root of -1 times the square root of -1 equals -1. I want to make a t-shirt, Peter Erikson. I want to get your permission. I want to make a t-shirt that says the square root of -1 times the square root of -1 equals -1. He wrote that on the board this year in CMPS, and I fell over. I mean, I was in the back trying to film all this stuff, and yeah, we have that. I'm going to try to get that up too, but my goodness. I know if you're not a mathematician, that probably like, who cares? It matters a lot. Chapter 5 shows the harmony that exists within the imaginary system, where the two incompatible kinds of numbers, imaginary and veritable, are associated. So he's talking about how the variable and the imaginary numbers are associated. That's in chapter 5. Chapter 6 performs the act of synthesis, which corresponds to the analysis of the previous chapter. It reconstructs the imaginary configuration from the ground up. That's what chapter 6 is. Chapter 7 compares and contrasts the veritable with the real number system. It begins with a discussion of the number line as an indispensable prerequisite for understanding numbers. It continues with discussion of how the two sign number systems, the variable and the real systems, are modifications of the absolute number system. Gets really interesting. It gets really interesting. Yeah, believe me, if you use math all the time, you need to read this book. Chapter 8 discusses negative roots and powers. The variable system can handle negative roots for rectilinear as well as rotary uses. Very amazing. Chapter 9 shows how the variable system handles logarithms. Chapter 10 explains the variable system's understanding of deficit negates and superiority that might be claimed for the real system, owing to the latter's recourse to the principle of reflexivity. Okay, reflexive the properties of our number system. Chapter 11 shows that the variable number system handles fractions with mixed signs. For example, plus 3 over minus 4. Far better than the real number system. I know I've been working with my daughter on math, and they're going through and they're doing all these operations. And there's some things that I realize that our number system will a fraction 3 over 4. Someone invented out that notation and what that means. Well, he goes into that and finds out what's going on there. Chapter 12 shows how the variable number systems handle Cartesian coordinates better than does its real number system rival. Chapter 13 shows how easily the variable number system handles polar coordinates. Now, folks, this isn't like a overture. It's not like going from decimal to binary. It's not at all. That's why it makes this so amazing. It's a tweak, more than a tweak. It's a very big philosophical change. It says, look, our number system evolved with time. We came up with notations for division, etc., minus and plus and all that stuff. Maybe it's time to take a look at it. That's what we critical thinkers do. Chapter 14 shows how the variable number system can handle certain types of calculus derivatives that the real numbers system must skip. Come on, this is so much better. Chapter 15 shows that the real number system cannot change its heading, but that the variable system can. That's pretty, you know what that means? If you have your number system and you're going in the positive direction, or let's say you're going in the negative direction, it doesn't matter variables. You're going in a direction, positive or negative. That's pretty amazing. Chapter 16 shows the mistake made by Sir William Rowan Hamilton when he tried to base his quaternions upon a real number system. I am convinced, I am veritable. Square root of -1 times square root of -1 equals -1. Variable number system. Peter Erickson. It's got to be a t-shirt, folks. Chapter 17 introduces the veritable minor, in which the negative is just a lesser form of the positive, but continually killing principles of reflexivity and is absent. That is amazing. It is amazing. Chapter 17 explains the maybe it's chapter 17 again, because he talks about chapter 7. Maybe it's chapter 18. Not sure. But it says, explains essential meaning of the variable number system. Direction is fundamental attribute of space. So if you are calculating and doing calculation for special relativity or for light or for gravity, for anything, this book is a must. Peter Erickson, thank you for being there. Thank you for being you, for showing us the problems with the real number system. No, this is an overhaul. 1 + 1 in the variable number system still equals 2, but it's how we look at things. And in physics, it's going to be really, really important, because what does it mean to go negative? If I'm standing here and say, okay, I'm going to go this direction, it's positive velocity, and I go this direction, it's not negative velocity. But we treat mathematics that way, and we treat mathematics that way. We get ourselves in trouble, and Peter Erickson is here to keep us out of trouble. So thank you very much, Peter. I applaud you. This is an amazing book. I look forward to reading it much more in depth, which I will, because these books take me some time. Let's do a t-shirt, folks. Come on, Peter. I'm talking to you. I hope you enjoyed this, because as I always say, don't ever take what anyone says on faith. Not even the real number system. Stay critical, stay thinking. I'm Dave D. Hilster. I am your science therapist. And yes, not even mathematics is sacred. And thanks to people like Peter Erickson, he can show us the way. And hopefully, he is also part of this science therapy where we're trying to give you to become critical thinkers. Ciao for now.